Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the December 10th meeting of the Board of Selectmen. If everybody would rise for the pledge of allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening and welcome. We don't have any public hearings tonight. Any announcements from the board? Sensing none. Deletions to the agenda. We're all set.
Not from me.
Okay. We do have an appointment, but with our auditor, who is Ron Smith, and his company. He is on his way here from Rockland, I believe, so, and Erica tells me he's 10 minutes out, so we'll go on and do some things while we're waiting for Ron's arrival. I would open it up to any public comment that anybody has to make. It's not on the agenda. Sensing none. We do have correspondence treasurer's reports are available for those that would like to see them. It's also on the website. Motor Vehicle and Excise Tax reports are also available for those that are interested. So why don't we jump into reports and staff initiatives. Any reports from Selectmen? Dwayne, anything?
Nothing tonight.
Tim?
Nothing for me, thanks.
Gordon?
Just a little bit of an update on, if the town administrator hasn't already done so, on the steering committee for the recreational center, community center. We're going to be sending letters out very shortly to people that have ownership in land in town that's in excess of 10 acres. And see what interest there is, if any, in them donating a parcel of land, to the town for the express purpose of building, a community center. We would like to do things through donation if possible, so that we don't impact the, the taxes, because we certainly got to be thinking about fundraising here very shortly, because that's going to be quite a financial undertaking to build a building. And what we're hoping to have is a building that is multifunctional, that serves as a community center overall, but it has a recreation component to it, and it has a library component to it, because both of those areas in town are grossly under facility-wise. They've outgrown it, quite frankly, and we're looking at having some place where we can have a potential for an emergency center, which we don't have in town, in the event of bad weather, hurricane, obviously, or snowstorms and so forth, that we can have a rest, a place where people can go to get a shower and get a hot meal and have a place to sleep. We just don't have that capability right now. Plus, an overwhelming thing is we don't have a really good facility to vote in, so it would it's going to be multifunctional. We're looking at all those things. Unfortunately, the idea of a pool, which you suggested, has been nixed right now. It's not out completely, but in the basic concept, they've kind of put that on the back burner, only because of the expense. But it hasn't been ruled out as a future component, but for right now. And so we get letters going out on that, and we're going to be starting on fundraising here very shortly. we have a meeting coming up with one of the architectural firms that submitted a bid, and we're going to meet with them next Monday, hopefully, to interview them to try to get some concept plans drawn up, much as you saw with the fire department mock-ups that they had. And hopefully we're going to have, we're going to ask anyway, if they build a, model you can sort of take around to different locations, because one of the things that we talked about doing was having sessions in town, all over town, at different locations to generate, public support, number one, and to educate everybody on what we're trying to do overall. But that's basically what I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Gary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let's talk about the 30-hour storm we had last week, which was a bit too long and above average in terms of length. We have, I think we could say, some new plow contractor drivers. They need to work on more frequently plowing some of the smaller subdivisions in town and not hitting as many mailboxes. The first storm is always the worst, but Dave Benton will continue to work with these issues with our contractor, Paul Boyer, and see if we can improve service, if you will. Let's talk about election polling place. I talked with the Sanford School Superintendent, Matt Nelson, a little over a week ago in regards to the regional aspect of schools as polling places and schools possibly being closed during elections. There was a bill, LD 431, I think it was carried forward from the last session to this session. This is an emergency session, so who knows what's going to happen there. I don't put much faith into them making Election Day a holiday. I don't think it should be either. But Superintendent Nelson is working with Larry Malone and other superintendents in the York County Association that they have, and they're aware that there are a number of other towns that would like to use the school to vote in as well. I would hope that we would have an answer from RSU 57 by the end of February at the very latest, because by the end of February I think they have set their school calendar. So I don't have any monumental progress in that regard yet. Gordon mentioned the steering committee meeting last night. He covered most of the things in there. The bids for this project, we had $25,000. We told the architect firms, 17 of them, what we had for funds. So obviously all the bids were between $24,000 and $25,000. Two firms have been picked, and again, one has confirmed later this afternoon that they will be here next Monday night. And if they want to interview another one or two, they will be doing that. And stay tuned, because hopefully this architect preliminary work will be done very quickly. This information will be done by the winter, and then we can spend some spring and summer months into educating the public on what this idea can be, because we're going to have to go to the voters either fall of 2020 or June or fall of 2021 to see what they want to do, if anything. And that's it from me, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Let's jump back up. So I just saw Ron walk in. So why don't we go through the 2019 town audit? Oh, we didn't have to wait for Ron at all.
Good evening,
Ron doesn't
everyone.
even matter.
I'm Erica McKay, and this is Ron Smith. We're here with RHR Smith & Company. We just wanted to go over a few of the highlights of your fiscal year 2019 audit. We've provided a packet to the board, and if you open up to the first page here, this is going to be a copy of your balance sheet. So this here, it's going to show all major funds. Right now, you just have your general fund as the major fund, and then all your other governmental funds, such as your capital projects and reserves. It's going to be in the other governmental column there to the right, and that's actually broken down even further in the back of the audit. If we look at your assets, at year end, what you had was $4.9 million in assets held. You had about $530,000 that was owed at year end. And getting down to your fund balances. So your total fund balance for the year ended up being at $3.9 million, of which $17,000 was held as non-spendable for your tax-acquired properties. There was $1.45 million that's held in carry-forwards. This is largely comprised of your crisis fund. A little bit about that crisis fund. So in the past, you had approved this crisis fund and various legalities around it. So every year, you're supposed to have about 1/12 or greater of your approved municipal appropriations, your education appropriations, and your overlay and county appropriations. At fiscal year end 19, you had about a budget of $15.1 million. 1/12 of that would have been about $1.26 million. Right now, your crisis fund is just above $1.2 million, which leaves us with about $50,000 short of that. So we would just recommend going forward, maybe appropriating some funds back into that as your budget increases.
And I think you guys could take an action clearly at one of your future meetings for that, because your charter allows you to do that, gives you that statutory, ability to do that at a future meeting.
And something that we also recommend, it's a very large balance that you have here in your general fund for carry forwards, as you call them. A lot of times what we like to see is these actually held in reserve, such as your capital projects and your special revenues. As you pull them out of your general fund, it'll actually make going forward seeing your general operating budget a little bit more clear. So instead of using these carry forwards as an addition to your budget adjustments, you would actually see the revenues and expenses going through in a separate fund to kind of separate out everything. And then if you look down to the number below that, that's $800,000 that's approved to be spent towards the FY20 budget, leaving you with about $1.6 million in undesignated fund balance. With undesignated funds, we typically like to say 30, 60, 90 days of your operating budget is like what we like to see there. Right now you're around 45 days, which is definitely very good, and we like to see that. And then if we go over to the next page here, this is going to be a 3-year comparison for your assets. As you can see, your assets have stayed pretty stagnant throughout the years. You've got your cash, your accounts receivable, and your tax-acquired properties there. On to the next page. This here is going to be a 3-year comparison of your liabilities, which is what is owed at June 30th, 2019. As you can see throughout the years, there has been a small amount of change. This is mostly due to timing, whether or not bills were paid before June 30th or if they were paid in July and August. And if we go over to the next page here, this here is going to be your committed, non-spendable, and assigned fund balance comparison for the past 3 years. As you can see, in 2017, it increased in 2018 and 2019. This increase can be due to your carry forward balances increasing throughout the years. It's also due to the increase in your budget reductions for each year and your crisis fund. And on the back page here, or the next page, this is your general fund undesignated fund balance. And as you see, starting with 2017 to 2019, there is a reduction in that undesignated fund balance, which is expected as you are using about $800,000 of your undesignated fund balance each year to reduce your budget.
The good news is you haven't needed it all, so that's why it hasn't gone down exponentially.
Right, and this year, we could have used 800 per the voters' approval, we'll use 550.
Exactly, so.
And then here, this is going to be your income statement on page 6. You'll see a breakdown of your general fund revenues and expenditures. Your revenues came in at about $14.5 million. Your expenditures about 14.7, leaving you with a fund balance at June 30th of 3.9 million. And if you wanted to see a further breakdown of those other revenue funds as well, that is going to be further in the back of the audit, broken out by fund. And over to the next page here. This here will show you the breakdown of your revenues. As you're probably well aware, your revenues are largely comprised of your taxes, about 88%, and secondly, your intergovernmental revenues, such as aids from the state, which would be 5.5% of your revenues. On the next page here, we have the same chart, except this is going to be a breakdown of your expenditures. Largest portion of your expenditures is going to be your education at 58%, public works coming in next at 9%, and everything else is pretty relatively low in comparison. On our last page here, this is going to be a breakdown from 2019 and 2018 of your revenues and expenditures. And as you look at the percentages and dollar amounts, you'll notice that they stay pretty stagnant throughout the years, which is what we like to see. There's no major fluctuations or changes. Other than that, do you have any other questions for us this evening?
The one thing that I would add with your crisis fund, if you look right underneath that talks about your capital programs and basically your logic to all of that, but it doesn't tell you how to fund it. So you're going to fund it with your crisis fund, you talk about it, you fund it with, capital, you can transfer some money into capital, as Erica was saying, and I think that that's probably something that we ought to talk about. I know we talked about it a little bit last year, and I think that's probably something you ought to look at, because of the impression, something, wow, 45 days, that's a lot of money. It's not. It's everything you got, there. And really, that includes your capital fund. So I think that as you had like this mechanism to fund your crisis fund, going forward with future budgets, definitely moving some of that money out of that general fund into the column called capital reserve fund, as Erica said. That's the way to go for sure. And consistent with practice.
So we could ultimately take a number of, we call it the unappropriated or undesignated funds, right?
Yep.
Which is now down to, it's like 9.6 million,
Yep.
even though the total is 3.9, right? So part of that's committed. We could take some number of that and designate it as a capital fund, right?
Correct. And as you've done with your crisis fund, put some parameters on it. Don't go below 30 days. So never go below 30 days.
So you could then funnel. You'd have some mechanism to replenish that fund as you use it.
Correct. Yep.
Well, thank you all for having us.
Any questions?
I have a question if the board does, and that's what I just handed out to you, because I've been here 6 years. Some of the time we've had a list at the end of the warrant for town meeting that gives different funds and how much money it estimated to come out to pay for the upcoming budget year. In this particular year, in June of this year, you see the one that's highlighted on there, we had an undesignated fund balance of $800,000 that was approved by the voters. We could use that much. Well, we didn't. We used $550 and kept the same tax rate, which is a good thing. But my question to you is, are we now going to show $250,000 of additional revenue because we didn't use that whole $800,000? We're going to see that a year from now in this next budget.
You want me to answer that?
Yeah.
So here's what I'm sure of. Your voters allowed you to use up to $800,000. I think that's crystal clear with what I'm seeing. When you set your tax rate, I just want to make sure I got it. You set your tax rate using $500,000 is what I is
550.
550, whatever that arithmetic is.
Yeah.
So you're allowed statutorily to do that too, as long as you did not exceed that $800,000. So quite frankly, you pass a tax savings. So I'm just using. So you used 550. So actually, there would have been a slight increase in the mill rate because you used less. What you said that you would use. But I'm assuming
But we had other increase.
Which is exactly where I'm going on the
valuation.
back side of it now. So I'm assuming whether it be education, whether it be something unforeseen that came up during the year that forced some type of assessment, whether it be a municipal appropriation, education appropriation, special purpose, contingency, something extraordinary within your budget, something came up that needed $250,000 or whatever the math works out to be the two.
But let's say that we don't, I think to Gary's point, if we don't, everything stays the same. At the end of this FY, June 30th of 20, okay? Because we didn't use 250,000,
It's there this year. Yep.
So
It'll be-
it's still-
unless you've got an overrun somewhere else, that would have, that's why I'm asking, was there something
Yeah,
on
yeah.
the back end, that would have cost you over? You should, that, whatever the arithmetic is, 250, that in theory should be there unless you
Could use it,
overspend.
in hindsight, we could have used the 250 and reduced the tax rate. Okay, only to come back potentially next year.
And ask you for it again.
Jack it back up,
Yeah.
okay? So rather than doing the yo-yo on the tax rate, we kept the tax rate the same and used less unappropriated surplus.
And I would argue this too, because there's that charter change, and this is that moving target, which I recommend you reconcile every year. If you've underfunded your crisis fund by $100,000, there's $100,000, of 250. And that could be a moving target, because if you go read the language of that crisis fund, I'm not sure that isn't as of a point in time. Because I would argue your crisis fund could be today, it could be tomorrow, it could be no less than 1/12 of your operating budget. Does that mean today? Does that mean tomorrow? Does that mean on June 30th, 2019? So I think the way that thing's worded, I think that crisis fund is virtually business day by business day by business day, if you read your charter. So, okay, if it goes under 1/12, where are we gonna get the money? From your undesignated funds to fund that difference, which is Erica's telling you, you're on June 30th, you were clearly short this year.
Okay, what the board would have to vote to apply that to the.
Correct. And your townspeople, when they passed that crisis fund charter, they gave the ability for the board to do exactly that. And you've actually got some other privileges, as a board, but I know the crisis fund is certainly one. And again, it says it shall not go below 1/12. So,
Chris used to tell us to not have this in article form and just have a list at the end of the warrant that gives estimated numbers of how we're going to pay for
yeah,
the budget.
there's a lot of ways to present this article.
I don't think we need an article. I don't like these.
So a couple of things, I would argue you're probably correct. And I think that, what most people typically do is they want the arithmetic to your tax calculation, which is why people will put an estimation in there. Doesn't say you gotta give an itemized breakdown, so there's many ways that you can show this. But I think that the logic behind this is hey, here's $3.5 million of non-property tax money that we're using, to balance this budget.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if you look back precedents, okay, we always, in fact, we've stopped doing that, but in the warrant articles previous years,
Yeah.
right, we said we're gonna use.
Of what, to fund the battle, the
Right,
revenue
we're gonna
piece.
fund this with 200,000 in taxes, 60,000 in unappropriated surplus, and then fees, right?
So if this was a step to get you away from that, you've done a great job.
Right, so we
doing
moved
that.
away from that and said, okay, let's put it at the tail end of it.
Yeah.
But there's still some, I guess, from a precedent standpoint, we've always taken that number to the people,
Yeah.
right? And said, this is the number that we're gonna.
And I think is that something you can do? Yes. Is it something that you have historically done? Yes. But you would historically, as Dennis would say, Gary, you would actually go in, I remember those days when in the articles, it would actually say how much and where from excise or fund balance. If it was like public works and you have $1.5 million for public works, that so much was going to come from taxation, the rest was going to be from fund balance or whatever. Those days, are over. And I think that this probably replaced, that to get it out of there and just say, here's what we're going to spend in total. And here's what we're going to offset from non-property tax.
Would you advocate that we keep having the voters vote?
I'd advocate that you'd have some resemblance of this, especially if the past practices is they're used to saying, hey, of the $15 million that you're gonna spend, how much of that is not property
So
tax?
you like the people voting on it, then you prefer that?
Statutorily, I would say that they probably don't have to, okay? Do I think for the air of transparency, knowing Waterboro and government, do I think that that's a wise thing to do, to say, hey, out of the portion, and it's important because we've got a slide in that presentation to say, here's where all your money's coming from, and here's what's not property tax. I think it's a wise thing to do, so that the whole burden's not shouldered by the taxpayers here in Waterboro. To say, hey, $15 million, here's your bill. So, and this is a way of saying, here's all your non-property tax money that's reducing, the budget.
Another question. We have, I don't think it's on, maybe other than just on paper, but in our general ledger, we show the checkbook balance. We also show the rescue billing balance, okay? And we have funds go into that, and in this case, we said, okay, we're gonna use $175K out of the rescue billing account, okay? That's $500,000 today.
Not unusable, it's more like 3 when we take some things out of it. We looked at that yesterday.
So where is that, that's just rolling up as designated surplus?
No, it's in a committed fund, I'm sure, but the question is, how much of that do you use of that money?
Yeah.
So a couple of things. I would argue it could be part of the $1.6 million, correct? Yeah.
Right.
So the question is okay, and here's the logic to that. You've got this rescue account, you've got this rescue department, you're running operations. The theory behind that is it's generating enough service money, to pay for the operations. Good so far?
Yeah.
Of which you say every year, it sounds like $175,000 we're going to take, and the expectation is we're going to reduce property taxation because that's part of our non-property tax money we're putting in here. I think what I hear you say is, could we use more? And I think what I hear Gary saying is it appears that there was more than whatever that magical number was. If it was 175 and I'm hearing 300, the answer is yes. The problem is, though, and I believe that that's actually a running cash balance. So the problem is, you want to make sure that that running cash balance is in real time, meaning that aligns with what's going out the door to run that department and any other special expenses that you may buy as far as, maybe a new rescue truck or rescue equipment or anything. You always want those two numbers to align, but it sounds like you've got more money,
Yeah, I think what's happened over time is that, you designate X amount of dollars, like 175, I'll guarantee you we'll collect 225 this year, okay? So the $50,000 is in that account, okay? More than what we pulled out of it.
Yeah.
Because we're saying we're gonna take 175 out of it this current year. Now, last year, I think we dipped into it for 310 or something, right? And we raised 220, I can't remember the number, but I'm just,
Get that number in real time.
but the question is that where does that roll up? In undesignated?
Yes. Don't ask anymore. It's in part of that 1.6 or whatever the very last number of your fund balance is. Here's what and if it's a concern, meaning, because I'll tell you, I don't want to tell you where, but I can tell you there's another municipality whose rescue department ran over budget this year, and the service calls weren't enough to pay for that budget. So the movement is that we're going to pull the rescue department out of the general fund, and we're going to set it up as a proprietary fund, and every year we're going to have that, whatever the budget is for the rescue department, and the service billing is going to offset it. The theory is it's going to pay for itself. Great. Have it in its own column. Pull it out of there if it's paying for itself, because that will show you whether or not it is or isn't. And it really takes these questions about rolling up that money, how much do we have, dedicated. That would probably require an ordinance or a charter change like you did for your crisis fund to do that, though. So,
Julie, they see a fog going up in the air back there?
Yeah, because you're looking at a figure, and Gary and I discussed this earlier today. You have liabilities sitting out there for the rescue department in that fund balance of in the excess of almost $118,000.
Okay.
So that comes out of that, is included in that. Also, the money for this year's budget has not been moved because of the interest that I'm earning. I move it in the last month, so that money that the town voted on is still there, so that reduces it by that. And right now in revenues, we're about 58% received, and we're pretty much on target as, going. But don't look at that dollar figure in
But
the,
net.
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's why I say, get it in real time. Get that number in real time, and the best way to get it is move it. Move it into another column, and that way it's always gonna be on real time. I don't know what some of these liabilities are, but I'm assuming it could be vacation time, could be,
No.
so if it's not, then there's another liability that may not be funded. Get that number in real time, though, so that you have an idea, what is it? Is it 100, is it 175, is it 200? And the best way to do that is separate it from the general fund.
Yeah, that 572 or whatever it is, when you take out the other liabilities that are monies in accounts that produce better interest, we got to pull that out of the 572s. It nets out to about 304,000.
Yeah.
That is in that rescue billing fund available today.
Yeah.
And there should probably be accounts receivable that would be associated with that as well.
No. The accounts
Your
receivable.
receivables for the
Accounts receivables comes out of the general fund because you've already allowed them for it to be taken out with the money that they voted on. There used to be two separate checking accounts many years ago, but we did away with that.
Yeah.
And that
So
money
it's just
that we're
It's just
moving,
a paper.
It's a paper number. Get
Yeah.
it in real time. Get that paper number in real time. And what I hear these guys saying is there's some other things that haven't been reconciled yet. It's sitting in that paper number. That's why I say get it in real time before you do anything.
so are you saying that the liability money should be spent?
No, I'm saying that liability number should be deducted from the paper number. So if the paper number is $500,000,
So
I don't
putting
know.
in another account?
Yeah, and I think that's the easiest thing to do.
Okay.
I really do. I think that
Just
is
set
the
up-
easiest thing to do.
Whatever the liability is, you put that in a different account, so that the money going in and out of that account is a live number, right? Or a real number.
Real.
So it gets journal out to whatever it's gonna go to, whether it's,
Yeah. And if you're looking at it as of a point in time and it's got $500,000, okay, is that the real number or do we got
Well,
another,
see,
or do we
my
got other
concern
bills that we
is
haven't
that
paid yet?
we know that, we're gonna come up on another round of capital acquisition
Yeah.
for the department, okay? Today, we've always utilized, or I shouldn't say today, in the past, we've utilized that rescue billing to pay for lease payments on equipment and those kind of things. And that's back when we used to put the dollar value,
Yeah,
we'd say, we're gonna go buy a new truck, and we're gonna take X amount of dollars out of the rescue billing account to pay for that lease this year, all right? Now, we're not doing that, we're getting the
Got it.
number at the end.
Yeah.
Okay? But, so over the years, we would target a number, and if we collected over that number, that just started,
it's great.
to build,
It's good news.
Okay. I'm not sure that we're there anymore, because I think what we're being able to collect is sliding down a little bit because of the ability to bill and those kind of things, but that's a whole nother discussion, right?
And listen, whatever the options are, we can work with Gary and Julie to get that as a real number so that you look at and say, hey, is this it? I would just need to see what you guys have done for the math, to help you. It would take Erica online to get you there. I think you've done all the math, just making sure that it's real time.
Okay.
I have no more questions.
Gordon?
Question I usually ask every year. When we deal with finances and budgeting, and especially auditing, it can be mind-boggling to try to understand that. If we boil all this down, what would the report card be for the Board of Selectmen and the town administrator on how we're on our fund utilization and the position of the town?
I'd say a B. B to a B plus. Yeah, and I'd say the B, more of the fact of some of the conversations, like with your crisis fund and the parameters on that. You've got a one-stop shop fund, that basically takes care of the whole town of Waterboro. I think when you can dissect that and set up a capital reserve fund and, some other needs like that, I'd say you're moving closer, you're moving to the B++, you know, in that category. And you're not there yet, but I'm gonna tell you, I remember Waterboro 10 years ago, and I'm telling you, you are so far advanced from where you were. Just as Dennis just says, you were trying to put revenue streams with warrant articles. So, and then you realized that was next to impossible, to the point where, if I remember 10 or 11 years ago, it caused you problem for assessing certificate matters that you arithmetic wrong, you know, because it's assessing certificate. So that practice got done away with. I think by changing just some of your practices and how you budget and setting up these reserve funds, I'd give you a B+ or higher, you know, if you start setting some money aside for capital, like your charter says so.
What are the things that we can do right now to move this up into the A rating?
I would argue, so looking at that charter, I don't know what page it's on, but under the crisis fund, your capital program's there, right, too? Go see what you have, what the people gave you for statutory authority, Gordon, and I would exercise that. I think if you have the ability to do a lot of that right there collectively, they've given you that by putting that in the charter. And I think that you can do much of your housekeeping there.
And I think we lived a little bit in the past, and we're not exercising the full authority that we're given in the charter.
Yeah, I'll tell you, this is a conservative town. It really is. And like I say, we do like a quarter of all the municipalities in the state of Maine. These stories don't go this way, so you're in a good position. And I think while you still are in that position, and while you have that authority to be in that position, I would actually just do some housekeeping, you know, and that's one of the housekeeping areas that I would do, for sure. So they gave you that authority for a reason, you know, and the reason is because they put you in this office to trust you that you're going to handle that money well. Good, let's take them up on it. Let's look at some things different. Let's look at what some other municipalities are doing. Let's see what's changing in the state, you know, whether it be revenue sharing, excise tax, things like that. Let's apply them right here in Waterboro, and let's take advantage of that page, you know, that allows you to do some things. So.
Eric is coming back to go over with Julie, myself, and Sharon on the property tax reconciliation issue sometime in the next month. We haven't set the date yet, so maybe at the same time we could add this to talk about that when you come.
Of course.
Good.
Good news, though. Like I say, B+ in this state, I think that's great, too. I really do, more than I do. So.
He's grading on a scale.
Yeah, on a scale. And I'll tell you, go look at your debt portfolio, and I'd argue you could probably go higher than B+. You don't have it. So
Okay.
that's good news.
Anything else? Questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
I'm not kicking you out, but thank you.
Eric is much nicer, but we're glad you're here too.
That's what I get all the time, too.
All right, let's jump back into the agenda. We're back into new business. Discuss vote to appoint a member to the community garden for a term which expires June 30th, 2022. What is your pleasure?
I move that we appoint Lisa Moulton to the Community Garden Center.
I'll second that.
Moved in second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Discuss vote to appoint a member to the Library Board of Trustees for a term which expires June 30th, 2020. What is your pleasure?
I move that we appoint Kevin Parks to the Library Trustees.
Okay, we have a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? That motion carries. Discuss to approve the municipal quitclaim deed. This is the little discussion that we get into, which wasn't on last time's agenda, but it would appear that a title search did not clear up what was done, so this deeds the property, the quitclaim deed, back to the original owner, and they can sort out everything from that point.
The board should know before you vote, all the taxes and any fees and interest have been paid. Sharon did cash the check, and through two attorneys, one we didn't even pay for, who was working for the buyer in this situation, as well as the title person that I spoke with today, they all agree that us doing this quitclaim validates the existing warranty deed on this sale, so this is the only thing that needs to be done to make that sale valid, and the town is made whole. So Dennis and I talked about this, and you have a long list in front of you are the things that you can do with our tax required property ordinance, and Natalie said, just do what you've been doing. Quit claim it back to the original owner, like you do with a lot of foreclosures, so that's what staff is recommending you do.
So what is your pleasure?
I would make a motion that we approve the staff recommendation for this and quitclaim deed this back to the original owner.
I'll second that.
Discussion.
I shake my head because I wonder how it happened. And I wonder why this wasn't sent, if we owned it 2 years ago, 3 years ago, why it wasn't sent to our public auction.
We've got a whole new chunk of new properties that could go to auction now.
Well, if we had them then, I mean, if we, I'm questioning why it wasn't, that's all.
Well, the same question goes, why didn't the title search
Yeah.
come up with, oh, by the way, the original owners didn't own it anymore, it's owned by the town of Waterboro, so we need to shore that up, which I think certainly Gary and Shirley have talked about of what to do when the lien gets matured and flipping the switch. To
Well, we've
say
been
that,
leading, we've been allowing people essentially close to 3 years before we actually take possession, and that's what I brought up in the previous meeting, and we'll have more conversation about this on another night, is we can shorten up our leniency, if you will, in
I
terms of...
don't think we need to, and I think we need to allow some of these elderly people a little bit of time if they can't afford it to get caught up. But I hate to see somebody lose it over 1 year of taxes.
That discretion can be on this board to have the sensitivity in those issues, but there are other people that do this constantly.
Constantly, but
Yeah. Commercial properties,
yeah.
but that's not for tonight.
And there's a new state law that protects elderly people from having their property seized. It's
Right.
pretty effective.
All right, let's jump back to this quitclaim deed. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed?
4-0.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
This item D, discuss vote to approve the state game of chance license for cribbage for the fraternal order of Eagles held at 1050 Main Street in Waterboro.
So moved.
Moved, do I have a second?
Second.
And we've cleared everything with our folks.
Yes, all
So-
three.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Discuss possible vote to approve the 2090 town audit. Do we need to do that, or?
We put it on here, I mean, it's a draft document now. I went through it with my red pen and I didn't find any oopses at all. There's nothing else for them to do in the document as far as I know. I don't think Julie's had as much time to put into it. The management letter is pending, you don't have that yet, so you can approve it tonight, next Tuesday, or first meeting in January, that's up to you. Management letter's not gonna say much, it's gonna talk about tax reconciliation with property taxes.
Do we think we're gonna have the management letter by next Tuesday night?
I don't know the answer to that. Put it on for next Tuesday.
Yeah, let's roll it to next Tuesday night. And
Try to get it.
if the management letter's there, then we wrap the whole thing up.
Okay.
Okay, there's no old business tonight. Would require that we discuss and vote to approve the minutes of the November 26th meeting.
So moved.
Seconded.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Week's action list. Discussion of agenda items. We do have a request now from, or pass on of the revised subdivision ordinance. We'll put that on next week's agenda just to identify when the public hearing will be. What else did we have?
Can we talk about that a bit? Because remember, you folks got the, what is it, 15-page document. Remember, the red line version, the underline and strikeout was 200 pages.
Yeah.
3 colors, I think.
Yeah.
I was not about to print that out. It's accessible to you. If you want a hard copy, please tell me.
I mistakenly printed it, so I did put it back to, printed it on 2 sides, but
It's been a long process.
Would you like one? To see what
No,
they
'cause
did?
I got the book.
The book?
Yeah, I got the subdivision,
These are the changes that the planning board made.
the changes are right there.
so we'll put it on,
Also got
we'll put it
the
on next
original
week's,
book with the original.
next week's agenda to set the public hearing, okay?
Okay.
Also, possible, adding to next week's agenda would be discuss possible vote. There's a request from the Waterboro Historical Society to place a permanent building on the Taylor Fry Levitt House property for them to use for storage and stuff, so we'll put that on the agenda as well. Anything else that we want to put on the agenda for next week?
Not for me, I don't think.
Okay?
Can we get a copy of an accident report on the damage done to the monument land? Looks like somebody ran into the wall there and tore the turf up on the corner, making a left turn off 5 onto that little short piece of the Townhouse Road extension or whatever.
Did it stave a vehicle up?
Huh?
Did it stave a vehicle up?
From the looks of it, they would have to have had some front end damage, especially to the right front, because there's a stone wall in back of that, if I remember right. It's a cement wall that was covered up, and it looks like it slammed into there pretty good, because you can see part of the wall's exposed now.
Well, we could ask Kevin or
I didn't know
Wayne
about
whether or not there was a...
I would guess if there was a snowplow
That could...
come around that corner and curved that corner and probably kept it on going there.
Well, let's take a peek at it and see what we got for information. We
If it
can,
was a small car, it probably was towed up, but my guess is somebody come up around there with either a big truck or a snowplow and made the corner too sharp. I don't think that come across this side. Didn't come off the townhouse, it came off Route 5.
No, it didn't come off the townhouse, it came off Route 5, somebody turned in there, but you can see where the tire tracks are going straight, so.
all right, 15 items needing signatures, the minutes of the November 26th meeting, the Eagle State license application, and the municipal quitclaim deed we'll have to do. We are going to adjourn and go into a workshop. So I would entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting and to go into the workshop to talk about the 2021 budget.
So moved.
Seconded.
All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Jim, you...